Chapter 678, The Love Reaper. After the two gunships had left the Jiangning City area, Zhu stared at the screen and, with a ruthless gaze, pressed the launch button for the Love Reaper. From an underground launch silo, a huge missile slowly emerged, and then blue-violet flames billowed, propelling it into the sky. This action immediately attracted the attention of regional powers around the world. Someone has launched the Love Reaper. Oh my, has this moment finally arrived? It has been confirmed that the Love Reaper originated from the kingdom of Huaxiu, Jiangnan region. Note, Huaxiu, the mother of Fuxi and Nuwa, is known as the beginning grandmother. For reasons we all understand, Huaxiu Kingdom will be used to refer to the mainland in the future. Investigate immediately what happened there. When the Love Reaper took off, the whole world got the news, which meant that this incident could not be concealed. 2 minutes later, a huge mushroom cloud rose in the center of Jiangning City. The terrifying temperature destroyed everything there, and the huge electromagnetic shockwave also caused temporary communication and power outages in surrounding cities. Zhu Zheng's body fell heavily onto the chair, his mood was incredibly heavy. In the end, the Love Reaper was used, just because of a team of aliens. Even if they won, it was not a glorious victory. But before he could let out a sigh of relief, the staff there immediately reported, "Commander, our satellites have detected the eclipse. They escaped." Zhu Zheng's pupils constricted. He couldn't believe it and stood up in disbelief, questioning, "Escaped? That's impossible. No matter how fast they ran, they couldn't have outrun the explosion of the Love Reaper." The staff member looked gloomy and showed Zhu Zheng an infographic. "According to our satellite intelligence, they actually left the center of the explosion 10 minutes ago. Although the eclipse could not be observed on the satellite map due to the existence of the shielding device, it was still possible to confirm their location in this way. It was like a hole in a map, very obvious." Everyone, including Zhu Zheng, felt a tingling in the scalp. Even the Love Reaper was useless against them? What a coincidence! You have to remember that just 10 minutes ago, they were still in the downtown area of Jiangning City. How could they have escaped so quickly? It was as if they had known in advance that they would use the Love Reaper. Zhu Zheng sat in his chair, his entire body as if half his soul had been sucked out of him. This time, he had completely and utterly failed. This action will also reduce the prestige of the Jiangnan region, as well as his personal prestige, to an extremely low level. It is not an exaggeration to describe it as a disgrace. Sun Luxuan looked at Zhu Zheng. He wanted to say something, but when he saw that Zhu Zheng was not in a good state, he stopped talking. When he looked aside, he and Tu Yunlai, the head of the operations department, exchanged glances. There was a tacit understanding in their eyes. This made both of them look much more solemn. Because they could see what Eclipse Moon's true capabilities were. Foresight. That was the ability the other party possessed. Then, from beginning to end, all the mysteries were solved. Why had the troops in the Jiangnan region been in a passive state in many battles despite their advantage of fighting on home soil? No matter how they planned, they were always seen through by the other party, and they were even at a disadvantage in terms of personnel deployment. It wasn't that the Heavenly Squad couldn't defeat Eclipse Moon's people. It was that Eclipse Moon could find the perfect countermeasure every time, making it very comfortable for their aliens to fight. Even when Jiangnan region deployed the Love Reaper, they predicted it in advance and thus escaped from danger. This ability made people feel deeply desperate. Who could defeat an enemy that could see into the future? However, soon, Tu Yunlai discovered a blind spot in things. The Eclipse Moon's prophets were not perfect at predicting the future. Because 5 of their own had also been eliminated. One was the female ninja Chio Naruz, who had been killed in a split second by Deng Shintong. And the other 4 were. Tu Yunlai looked up suddenly, his eyes glowing with a strange light. He seemed to have found the best way to deal with Eclipse Moon. Yes, it was Zhang Yi. From the beginning, no one had paid any attention to him, an outsider from a minor outer city. Later, he single-handedly killed 4 members of Eclipse Moon. although 2 of them were suspected of picking up the slack. However, at that time, the second in command of Eclipse Moon, Saikiro Jinguji, was nearby. Zhang Yi directly scared off Jinguji, which proves that his strength is definitely not as simple as it seems. He is at least a lieutenant, or even a captain. Tu Yunlia's gaze became sharp. He felt that it was necessary for the headquarters to have a good chat with Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi will become the key to the annihilation of Eclipse Moon. At this time, Lan Xincheng was also busy. Zhu Zheng was so devastated that he was unable to arrange other matters. As Zhu Zheng's secretary, Lan Xincheng had to solve the nitty-gritty of this mess for him. He pushed his gold-rimmed glasses with the palm of his hand, then stood with his hands behind his back, his chest puffed out, in the middle of the command center. Then he said loudly, "Regarding this battle, no one here today is allowed to disclose a single word to anyone outside. If I find out that anyone has leaked any information, they will be stripped of their status as a resident of Blizzard City and expelled from the country." The staff members couldn't help but be silenced upon hearing this. Some people secretly thought to themselves, was this a gag order? But was such a huge defeat really something that could be kept secret from everyone? Tu Yunlai glanced at Lan Xincheng and didn't say anything more. Internal affairs were not his concern, and Lan Xincheng could do whatever he wanted. One of the staff members below asked, "But this battle defeat has had a huge impact. Even if we don't say anything, there are still many people who know. For example, the frontline combat personnel." Lan Xincheng said coldly, "They will also be notified and not allowed to disclose any information. From today onwards, no one in the entire Blizzard City is allowed to discuss this incident in private. We have annihilated half of the Eclipse Moon members in this battle and achieved brilliant results. The news station should immediately broadcast this to inform the entire city." The crowd understood that Lan Xincheng was trying to create an information cocoon and prevent most people in the city from learning the truth about the battle's defeat. Because in the end times, the greatest fear was instability in the hearts of the people, which could lead to internal unrest. Bai Li Changqing interjected, "It's okay to talk about other aspects, but what about the Deng family? Deng Shintong's death was a huge blow to the Deng family. You have to understand that Deng Shintong was the successor that the Deng family had high hopes for, and there were not many descendants in the Deng family, and even Deng Yuanbua himself had no heir. In that case, are they going to be able to keep the Deng family's mouth shut?" Lan Xincheng also fell silent. His brows were knotted into a lump, and he finally said with difficulty, "We have to go and talk to the Deng family. I hope they can consider the big picture." Unless Zhu Zheng speaks up, Lan Xincheng, as the secretary, may not be given face. Chapter 679 Maintaining the Situation. The loss of the second encirclement and suppression of Erosion Moon sent the entire Blizzard City's upper echelons into a panic. Zhu Zheng's mind was exploding at this time, and the others had no choice but to come out and stitch up the situation. As for blocking the news, the secretary Lan Xincheng took on the task without hesitation. Naturally, the people below were told to follow orders. The first thing that morning, Jiangnan TV's morning news broadcast the news that the district had won a major victory in the battle against the Neon Ronin. Early this morning, my Jiangnan district alien forces launched a special military operation against the Neon Ronin organization. The operation was commanded by Zhu Zheng, the regional supreme commander, with the participation of Tu Yunlai, the chief of operations, Bai Li Changqing, the leader of the Black Robe investigation team, the Heavenly God Squad, and many outsiders from the outer city. After a night of fighting, half of the members of Eclipse Moon were annihilated, and brilliant results were achieved. In Blizzard City, where there is a lack of entertainment options, every morning after waking up, people will watch the morning news. At this time, the people of Blizzard City couldn't help but feel elated when they saw that the large region had won another major battle, and they all had happy expressions on their faces. Although they still had to work for more than 12 hours today, they all felt full of energy. On the Deng family side, Uncle Deng Yuan was the first to get the news that Deng Shintong had died in battle. Everyone was terrified, fearing the wrath of this important figure in Blizzard City. Even Lan Xincheng personally called over to Deng Yuanbua, fearing that he would blow up the matter. The one who answered the phone was not Deng Yuanbo himself, but his butler Lianqing. "Mr. Deng is not available to answer the phone right now. He instructed me to convey his meaning if anyone from the headquarters comes to inquire. The Deng family will put the overall situation first and support the decisions of the higher-ups." After Lan Xingqiang got this reply, his heart, which had been hanging in the balance, finally let go. Don't look at Deng Yuanbo's superficial identity as just a businessman. In reality, the Deng family's power and network of connections is very large. Even in Blizzard City today, many high-level figures have connections with the Deng family. Not to mention that the development of Blizzard City also relies on the technical support provided by the Deng Group. Mr. Deng understands the greater good. On behalf of Blizzard City, I would like to thank him. I will convey your message to him. The call ended quickly. Lianqing put down the retro gold telephone and turned towards the back room. Deng Yuanbo's room was antique, with furniture made of mostly Zitan and Wangwali, which were models from the last century. This was relatively rare in the mid-21st century. At this time, he was wearing a large fox fur coat and standing in front of the huge French windows, quietly watching the falling snow outside. Lianqing knocked on the door and walked in, respectfully lowering his hands and saying, "Mr. Deng, I have already responded to the people at headquarters as you instructed." Deng Yuanbo simply nodded slowly. Seeing this, Lianqing looked up, thinking for a long time, and then asked somewhat puzzled, "There were many strange things about this operation. It was a complete failure, and with the strength of the young master, even if he was no match, he wouldn't have died in battle. Were you perhaps too gentle with them?" Such a result was unacceptable to both Deng Yuanbo and Lianqing. The Heavenly Squad had never lost a battle, and its members were all first-rate fighters, so how could they have died at the hands of a group of Ronin? Lianqing couldn't help but entertain a conspiracy theory. Could it be that someone had deliberately targeted and killed Deng Shintong? After all, there were dark currents swirling in Blizzard City these days. As the designated successor of the Deng family, Deng Shintong was second to none in terms of ability and popularity. Almost everyone understood that Deng Shintong was the one the Deng family had high hopes for and a strong contender for the next commander of Blizzard City. Deng Yuanbo narrowed his eyes, his expression hidden in the dim morning light, and it was hard to make out his expression. A voice of vicissitude came from his throat. No matter what, the Jiangnan region cannot be allowed to fall into chaos. We share the same fate with the Jiangnan region. If Blizzard City goes to hell, it will be difficult for the Deng family to remain unaffected. I will investigate the matter of the supernatural powers carefully. But for now, we need to help the region stabilize. Upon hearing this, Lianqing hung his head and said, "I was short-sighted. I will follow your teachings, sir." No matter how sad he felt in his heart, as the head of the Deng family, Deng Yuanbo needed to take responsibility for the entire family. To break with the regional headquarters now would undoubtedly be foolish. However, this matter would definitely not end here. Don't let me find out who did this. Otherwise, even if it is Zhu Zheng, you won't be able to bear the consequences. Deng Yuanbo's dark eyes flashed with a terrifying light. Although Zhu Zheng was able to take the position of commander of the Jiangnan region in the end times due to his status in the military, it was also due to the support of other forces. After all, in Blizzard City, there were quite a few large families from Jiangnan. People from these families were located in various places in Blizzard City. If one day, Zhu Zhengde was no longer worthy, they would pull him down. In the end times, it would definitely be a huge disaster for those without ability to hold high positions. The explosion of the Love Reaper made Zhang Yi and the others on the gunship realize that Deng Shintong and the others had failed. Blizzard City would never have used such a final weapon if they had not been driven to it. I never thought they would be so strong. Mo Zhongming's eyes were a little unfocused. Everyone is an outsider, so why is there such a big difference? He was an outsider who ruled a city, but in the end, he was cut down by eclipsing moon. This feeling was too much of a blow to him. Li Weihai sighed. This batch of people was no ordinary group of aliens. It is said that they killed and plundered everywhere in the Kanto region of Neon, and they could be called the most fierce gang of robbers in Kanto. Who among those who survived in that environment wasn't a ruthless character? Li Weihai said this, took a deep breath, and looked up at the window at the lingering radiant light. But now, it's all over. Even if they were the most powerful aliens, they couldn't have survived in the face of such weapons. Almost everyone agreed with this statement. Only Zhang Yi frowned, not saying anything. Liang Yu asked, "Why do you still look so worried?" The headquarters even used the Love Reaper, so not to mention the Eclipse people, even Epsilon-level Yu Kongyao wouldn't have survived, right? Zhang Yi said, "I have a very uncomfortable feeling. I always feel that they won't die so easily." This feeling comes from the information Zhang Yi has collected on the Eclipse Moon team. They seem to have the ability to predict the future, and can always predict the battle situation most accurately. Could it be that they even anticipated the appearance of the Love Reaper?